الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected elders, dearest brothers and sisters in Islam, Alhamdulillah, we are continuing with our series, The Journey of the Soul. We had covered the origins of the soul, and inshallah tonight we are continuing the stages that the soul goes through in this dunya. And as an introduction, brothers and sisters, we might be wondering, this series, Journey of the Soul, we want to hear about those things, that we're not aware of. What happens in death, what type, when the angels arrive, angel of death comes, what's it like inside of the grave? The stages of the world, we already know about this. So what's the point and what's the benefit of learning it and speaking about it? Brothers and sisters, it is so important. Every step of our lives, Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they have given us the guidance and the right perspective. Each stage of life, how are you supposed to perceive it? What should you be doing at each stage? In each stage of life, what does it signify? You see, like in this world, when you look at worldly people, they also know about the stages of life. But what's their perspective on it? So they will say, okay, when a person is a baby and a kid, other people will take care of them. Then when you're a youth, your purpose and your job is to have fun. And then once you get into college, your job is to party and experience life and do everything which is out there. Because once you get old and you settle down and you get married, you're not going to have time for all the parties and all the clubs. So do all of that while you're young. And then you have to make money and this and this and this. They have their perspective, but it's not within the guidelines of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah teaches us each step of the way what should be our perspective on life. And I had covered yesterday, we talked about childhood. When a person is a baby all the way until before adolescence. And we had mentioned when children pass away and when children lose their lives, many of us, which is natural and which should be our reaction, we're deeply saddened. Man, innocent kid, and they passed away. But Allahu Akbar, if we were truly to understand and realize, many of those children who pass away, they're in a better condition than the people who experienced a full life. Because the children who don't have any accountability to Allah, they passed away before adolescence, they go to Jannah inshallah. And humans, you might, people who live long, you might have gone through the whole experience of life. A person lived, they went to school, they went to college, they got married, they had children, they saw their grandchildren. But guess what? In the end, when the person breathes their last, if they were not successful, they will wish that they never came into this dunya to begin with. All of that good times that they spent, all of those good experiences which they had, it will mean zero to them at that time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's mentioned in some of the narrations that the Prophet alayhi salam, when he saw Jannah, he saw that there is a garden. And in this garden, there's a tall man. And all around him, there are young children. They're playing, they're running around, and they're playing in this garden with this tall man who's there. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was surprised and he was shocked that, this is Jannah. Who's this beautiful, handsome, tall man? And all these young children, they're playing and they're enjoying themselves and running around all around him. Who are these children? And he was informed, this tall man, this is Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam. And all these children that you see playing around him, these are those children, they had passed away before adolescence. In Jannah, this is what they do. They just enjoy themselves. Some of the narrations also mention that the children, they will be in the form of birds. They will roam around paradise, flying around. And some narrations mention the third opinion, which is that those children that pass away, whenever they are being reckoned by Allah, there's no accountability because they never committed any sins. They're not responsible. But after they pass away, Allah will issue them a command. O my servant, do this. If they obey, they will be admitted into paradise. And if they disobey, they will be admitted into the hellfire. And it is mentioned that you obeyed me now, this is what you would have done in the dunya had you lived. And if you disobeyed me now, this is most probably what you would have done in the dunya. So therefore, this is going to be the outcome. Brothers and sisters, we had mentioned that those two angels, which are on the shoulders of every human being, the moment a person becomes baligh, you reach adolescence, bam, they lift their pens now. They're holding you to an accountability now. They're very particular. Every word that you say, every action that you do, they're not going to let it go by except that they write it down. And it's mentioned these two angels, they become your best friends. They're going to stay with you. Not only in this dunya, they will accompany you all the way into the akhirah until the day of judgment. And they will present your good deeds and they will present your bad deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These two companions, the angel on the right side, the angel on the left side, they stay with you forever. They will be with you till the day of judgment. Brothers and sisters, you know, when we hear these things, what's our mentality? Oh, there's angels. Wow, that sounds so cool. Amazing. No. Take it as conviction, brothers and sisters. Conviction. You know the companions, radiallahu anhum, how much conviction they had in the words of the Prophet alayhi salam. When they heard things like this about the angels, they come to the Prophet alayhi salam complaining. Guess what's their complaint? O Messenger of Allah, we cannot use the bathroom. We're experiencing difficulty going to the bathroom. Why? Because we are ashamed and we're shy that these angels, they're sitting on our shoulders, they're watching us, they're seeing us. How could we remove our garments to use the bathroom? We're experiencing difficulty in this. Allahu Akbar. What does that show us, brothers and sisters? They had so much yaqeen and conviction. It was as if they could see the angels. Who can use the bathroom and relieve themselves when somebody's watching you and looking at you? You can't. So for them, that's how serious it was. That's how vivid it was. That's how much conviction that these people had. And this is our duty, brothers and sisters, to bring this conviction alive, inshallah. The next step, which is mentioned that a human being goes through, is the period of shabab. Shabab means the period of youth. This is a very, very important time in the life of a human being. Because in the time of shabab, in the time of youth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you energy. He gives you a lot of capabilities. He gives you a lot of isti'dad. There's a lot of potential in this time of youth. You know, like as an example, imagine there's a guy in the backyard. He's working on a huge backyard. Okay, just take it as an example. So he's got the chainsaw. MashaAllah, fresh battery, full charge. Brrr, he starts the thing. Guess what? He's going to finish off that whole backyard. How long is it going to take him? Maybe 30 minutes. He'll finish the whole thing. Why? Because that chainsaw, it's full of power. It's got a full battery charge. When you are in shabab, when you are in your youth, your battery is fully charged. Allah has given you so much potential during this time. Your actions during this time are extra beloved to Allah. Your good deeds, Allah loves it more in this period. Now when a person gets older, still, of course, Allah loves our hasanat. Allah loves our good deeds. But to a certain extent, the potential and the ability and the power and energy, it has decreased now. So now you can imagine the chainsaw example. Imagine the chainsaw was running and they did a couple backyards, they finished. And then in the end of the day, the guy's using the chainsaw and it's not even running that powerfully. It's not even moving that good. So guess what? How many trees is he going to be able to cut? It's not going to cut that smooth. It's going to take him a lot more time. So shabab, brothers and sisters, with that chainsaw, it's so powerful. It can do a lot of good. It can clean up a lot of backyards and cut so many trees. But guess what? If you're not careful, the power in that chainsaw can also do what? It can destroy a lot of things. It can cut a lot of people. So this power which is in the time of youth, if it's not utilized appropriately and it's not utilized properly, instead of the good things coming out of it, guess what happens? We see exponentially the harm when people misuse the youth. The third stage, brothers and sisters, that a person goes through is called the middle age, the ashud. حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة. Around the age of 35, 40, this is when a person reaches their peak. And it is mentioned, many of the prophets, our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was granted his prophethood when? At the age of 40. At the age of 40, this is around this time, middle age, is when a human being, their objective of life should be very, very clear now. Their purpose in this life has become very, very clear. That age of youth, where it's for entertainment, where it's for pleasure, where it's for fun, around the age of 35, 40, those things don't really seem fun anymore. The person has a seriousness to them. This was the time, if you look at the life of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would go in seclusion around this age. So he would detach himself from the society, detach himself from the people, from the hustle and bustle of society. Let me go into the cave and really think about my life. Let me think why I'm here. Let me think where am I going and where am I headed. It was around this age that he would think and he would focus like this. This is the middle age, brothers and sisters, and it is mentioned, this is where a person is at their prime. At this age, a person must invest in the akhirah. A person must devote themselves for the next world. The next step that a person reaches is what we call shaykhuha. You become an elderly person. You reach old age. And the final stage that a person reaches, some people reach it, some people may not reach it, but it's the age where a person becomes senile. They've not just reached an age of being elderly, but such an elderly age that now they can't even look after themselves anymore. So inshallah, let's go into the first stage. Once a person reaches old age. Imam Malik rahimahullah, he says, the people that I interacted with, what was their custom and their norm? That until the age of around 40, they would engross themselves in learning the deen. That's all they would do. That's their main focus. Learn, 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 learn. Once they would reach the age of 40, they would close the books now. They would stop teaching. 40 is kind of young, right? When we think of age 40, that's still very young. But for them at age 40, they would close their books. They would only devote themselves for ibadat. The rest of their lives now was only for the sake of ibadah. It's mentioned about Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. At the age of 40, he started carrying a cane. He started carrying a walking stick. So the people said, oh, Imam Shafi'i, you're a healthy man, mashallah. You can walk, you can run. You're a strong man. You're still not that old. Why are you carrying the stick? So Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he said, this is my mudhakkir. This is my admonition. This is my reminder. It reminds me that I'm not getting younger. I'm reaching an old age now. I'm getting old. أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ. It is mentioned, Allah will say to those who had reached an age of being elderly, did we not give you enough life through which you could reflect and ponder and realize your purpose? وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ. And the reminder came to you, but still you did not reflect. And what is this reminder referring to, brothers and sisters? Many of the ulama say it's referring to white and gray hairs. It's a reminder. You are now getting old. You are reaching an elderly state. Your time of returning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is becoming close and it's nearing. It's a time of seriousness. It's a time of great reflection on where a person is headed. Respected listeners, in these stages of life, we see that a person's understanding and mentality is that success in this life means what? Probably your wealth, probably your money, how many degrees you've accumulated, how much wealth you have accumulated. If you have all of that, that means you've been successful. Whereas, brothers and sisters, if we look, a person that goes through sadness, there may be some trauma, there may be difficulties that they're going through, we would normally say, man, that guy's unsuccessful. Look at his life, look at her life, they're not doing too well. Whereas the reality in the next world, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned, for some people, Allah wants them, their Jannah should be up here. But when their ending of their a'mal, at the end of their lives, their deeds, it is not enough to push them to that high level. They don't have enough deeds. They don't have enough money to purchase that high level of Jannah. So what does Allah do? Allah gives them tests. Allah gives them tribulations. They will lose some loved ones. They will have some financial tribulations. They will have some times of difficulty. When they are patient over those difficulties, what happens? They eventually reach that high level of paradise which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had intended for them. The beautiful thing, brothers and sisters, the one who nurtures this soul in this dunya, they take care of the soul in this dunya. Allah mentions in the Quran something very, very beautiful. وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. For the one who fears standing in front of Allah, the judgment and the reckoning in front of Allah, whoever fears that, and they acted in accordance with that, for them, there will be 2 Jannats. There will be 2 paradises. What are these 2 paradises? We know in the Akhirah, there's 1 Jannah. What is this 2 paradises that this person will have? The scholars of tafsir, they mention that in this dunya, the person will have a paradise. And in the next life, they will have the Jannah of the Akhirah as well. When you nurture the soul, even in this dunya, this world becomes a paradise for you. When we look at the pious predecessors, you look at the companions, radiyallahu anhum, in 2 units of salah, what bliss they would feel in those prayers. It was like Jannah on earth. So much so, there are narrations that mention when the companions, radiyallahu anhum, they're standing in prayer and they're struck with arrows. They're bleeding. There's blood trickling down them. They're severely injured. But the enjoyment that they're feeling in that prayer, because their hearts and souls were nurtured, they don't even realize that they're hit. They don't even realize that they're struck. They don't even realize that there's blood trickling from their bodies. They're just enjoying. They're in Jannah on this earth. Some of them, their narrations mention that some of the people, when they were struck, and now the arrow has to be pulled out. Now it's so painful, right? When you're going to pull that arrow out. They would say, wait till I engage in salah. Because when I'm praying, I'm not going to know about this world and what's happening inside of it. So when you pull the arrow out, I'm not going to feel anything. I'm communicating with my Allah. These are the stages, brothers and sisters, in this dunya. How a person can make this time successful. Utilize, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, take from your good health, use it for your time of sickness. Use the time of your life, use it and invest it for the next life. Take the moments of your youth, use it for your old age. Take everything from this world, use it to benefit yourself in the akhirah, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He grants us the reality of this world, the realities of the temporary nature. Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib. Live in this dunya as if you're a stranger. Live in this dunya ka'annaka abiru sabil. Like a person who's just traveling through. You know, this is nothing but the airport when you're on delay, waiting for your next flight. That's the reality of this world, brothers and sisters. May Allah open our eyes and grant us all tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.